Thank you. Can I please start by confirming our meeting will occur on the 19th of March on the subject of the security of companies offering bullion storage and sales services in Australia? Thank you. I look forward to that. Now, moving on to other matters, total compensation paid for the fee for no service scandal was $4.7 billion. Since those compensation payments, do you believe financial institutions have fixed their systems and this practice is no longer happening?
I'll ask Deputy Chair Court to comment on that, but I think it's a truism that that systems and processes of the banks are always in need of improvement and enhancement, so one can never be certain that those systems will be fixed forever. But we certainly think that a lot of progress has been made coming out of the Royal Commission. I know Deputy Chair Court has done some work in this area as well.
Senator, I don't think I'd ever presume to say that the issues of fees for no service or the compliance and legacy systems of large financial institutions has been completely fixed. I think there's been progress made. As you say, there's been billions of dollars of remediation. There's also been multi-million-dollar penalties applied by courts in relation to that conduct. But we do continue to have cases where fees for no service are being alleged, and we are continuing to investigate them and take court action where it's appropriate.
So you're still wary. Thank you. That's pleasing. Do you think the amount of compensation, $4.7 billion, met or exceeded the revenue that was illegally obtained by financial institutions through the fee for no service scam?
I'm sorry, Senator. I think you'd have to ask that question of those institutions. Okay. Certainly the remediation figure is eye-watering.
Yep. Turning to the new mandatory banking code of practice that ASIC will consider recommending to the Minister, the Australian Banking Association, led by former Labor Premier Anna Bligh, has extended coverage to include buy now, pay later providers by including them in the phrase, each bank will exercise the care and skill of a diligent and prudent banker. Does that phrase provide a quantifiable legal protection to customers, or is it utterly meaningless?
I'm happy to assist the Senator in relation to the banking code. I might just clarify, in your introduction you referred to it as a mandatory code, and you also referred to it being taken to the Minister. So industry codes aren't mandatory. You're right that the banking industry has developed one, but also the approval process is one that, if chosen by the Industry Association, comes to ASIC. So it's an ASIC approval process, not a ministerial one.
Thank you.
Coming to your particular question about the terms of the code. So the code that exists now commenced in 2018, and I think, as you alluding to, the Australian Banking Association, who wrote the code, and its members who've signed up to it, have been going through a process of updating the code and have proposed to bring it to ASIC for additional approval, for approval under the statutory scheme. So one of the issues that is live in that process is the question of the inclusion of the phrase prudent and diligent banker, which you've called out. So in the existing code, the one that exists now that was approved in 18, and there's been some revisions approved since, that phrase is included. In the proposed code, the draft code that's been prepared, there's a question about whether it can come out on the basis that it's duplicative of the responsible lending obligations that already apply to bankers. So that's the issue. As to its progress, I'll just give you some further information about how the ABA had done a consultation process to develop the draft code. We now at ASIC are doing a consultation process associated with our consideration of approving it because of the importance of these codes to all of banking consumers, so all Australians. So these codes really matter, and making sure that they are suitable in their content and they meet the statutory requirements is something that we take very seriously, and we are undertaking a consultation process, and that particular question is one of the ones we're seeking submissions on and very carefully considering.
I think I'll be coming back to that, Ms O'Rourke. Now, I'll just move quickly because the Chair is needing to hurry.
I'm staring at you, Senator Roberts, but thank you for proceeding quickly.
I raised the fees for no service earlier for a reason. The clause in the proposed Australian Banking Association Code, clause 1231, used to read, the bank will make sure we have your agreement on charging a fee for a new service. That clause has been removed from the new code, meaning the bank does not need to get a customer's permission before charging them a fee for a new service. If If the bank doesn't get my permission, can they simply start charging me for services under the new code that I did not agree to or may not know I am being charged for? Are they unwinding your good work on the fee for no service?
Thank you for that question. I'm not particularly aware of that proposed deletion, so I think I might take on notice any background relevant to that. But the general answer is that there are provisions more widely in the code that would be relevant to whether fees for no service can be charged. And indeed, I think my colleagues have spoken to the important work ASIC has taken to ensure that that sort of activity does not occur.
Can you show me in the draft code where it provides a guarantee of face-to-face banking services? That means access to a bank branch.
So I think in both the existing code and the proposed code, the question around branch closures, which I think is what you're alluding to,
Yes.
is covered by reference to a protocol that exists about the circumstances or the provisions that a bank will consider on decisions as to whether or not it provides banking services in particular communities. It's not framed, as far as I'm aware, in the way that you've framed it, as a right.
Right.
So I can't point to that if that's what you're
Thank
seeking.
you. Debanking is proving to be a real problem across businesses that are alternatives to the bank system. Banks are debanking bullion dealers, crypto brokers and third-party cash transit companies. Is there anything in this code of practice that guarantees banking services for customers who use cash, bullion or crypto?
I'm going to have to take that on notice, Senator.
Is there anything in this draft that guarantees access to the King's currency, cash?
Not that I'm aware of, but I'm happy to take it on notice.
Can you show me where it says something like, we undertake to not terminate your banking services for your political views unless a criminal conviction has resulted or similar? As written, the code gives no protection for a customer who exhibits wrong think on social media, for instance. This is a problem.
I think that's a statement.
I think last question. Thank you, Senator Roberts.
Why has the phrase, we will behave in a fair, reasonable and ethical manner, been replaced with efficient, honest and fair? Is there no room for ethics in modern banking? And is the term efficiency used so that the bank can say it's not efficient for them?
Thank you. I think you're right to point out that that's one of the important distinctions between the existing code and the proposed one, and therefore it's one of the areas that we are consulting on to understand stakeholders' views on the proposed on that proposed change. So I'm agreeing with you that it's an important issue for us to explore and understand the basis for the proposed change and what the consequences would be.
Are you aware...
Thank you, Senator Roberts.
Just following on from the last one.
Thank you.
Are you aware that the Consumer Law Action Centre describes the new code as offering no overall improvements in consumer protection? Do you, ASIC, agree with this characterisation, and will ASIC add extra protections yourself before forwarding the code?
So as I referred to, Senator, we're right in the middle of a consultation process which includes listening to stakeholders about their perspectives on the new code, and we're taking careful consideration of all the issues that are raised before we move to the decision point that I described earlier.
Thank you very much, and I must say I appreciate the direct and immediate answers. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Roberts. I understand Senator